All right, everybody. I think we have a good group of people here. Really excited to chat with you all today, and yeah, a lot of updates to give you in Tableland. So I know a lot of people have found their way here probably from different projects and collaborations that we're working on. So if you're not fully familiar with Tableland, Tableland is a protocol we're building to allow composable data right in your smart contract. So it brings SQL to smart contracts on Ethereum and other EVM compatible chains. It gives you read-write capabilities to structure data in the blockchain, and it allows you to, well, we think it allows you to supercharge NFTs, NFT-based games, metaverse experiences, and lots of things across Web3. There's a lot to unpack there, and we're doing our best to get our docs updated and show you really the power of this thing that we're building. But we're really excited to do that. I know a lot of you have probably found your way in here probably from our community NFT that we're launching in a few weeks called Rigs. So Rigs are built on Tableland and have some of that user-controlled mutability built into them, and we're planning some cool things to make them evolve with the owners and do neat things on the network, and we'll talk a little bit about that later today. If you have questions along the way, I shared a chat in the general channel that has the agenda, but also just drop any questions along the way there, and we can address them. But if you also want to take part on the stage, go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll have a Q&A at the end. You can just hang out with your hand raised, and we'll get to you when we're done with kind of this slew of updates that we want to give you. Yeah, around the updates, I mean, we have a lot today. So we organize as seasons, roughly, 2, 3 plus months periods that we plan out, and then we just execute. We put our heads down and execute, and we're just wrapping up season 3, and we've gone into the planning week for season 4. And with that wrap up, we have so many cool features and updates about how the Tableland network is running, and our sort of progress there, and some updates in the community and the Rigs NFT areas. So very excited to get to all of that, but I thought it would be really fun today, because this is a big update from all of us, to just get people to know some of the Tableland team a bit better. I think our avatars are jumping around Discord all the time, and you don't always know who's on the team and who's not and what people work on. So I thought it would be really fun. Anybody that's working on Tableland, maybe just jump up on stage with me really quick, and we'll just kind of pass the mic, and everybody spend 30 seconds or less, share with people who you are and what interests you, and and then people will know us a bit better. So I don't know if the faces are ordered the same from everybody, but right to the right of me is Dan. So I'll just pass the mic to you, Dan, and we'll keep going.
Sure. Hey everyone, how's it going? Dan Buchholz, obviously part of the Tableland team, but I'm really focused on the developer experience and everything dev. So feel free to call me out. If anything process-wise or experiences-wise is not ideal, just my handle's DTP. But before Tableland, I was part of I did an apprenticeship at Ethereum. So also anything Ethereum related, shout out to me. But from there, I'll just pass it over to Ignacio.
Hey everybody, my name is Ignacio. I work mostly in the validator part of Tableland and on some protocol level discussions. So if you find some faulty behavior in the validator, it's probably my fault. So happy to chat with any of you in Discord, and if you want to know any further details about the validator or things like that. I will pass the mic to Joe.
Hey everybody, I'm Joe Wagner, and my tag is NJWags. I'm a full stack developer, and I mostly work on sort of building out some of the example apps and making things work end to end. If anyone is curious how to build, we're trying to get some best practices set up and available to run yourself in our example apps repository on GitHub. It's all public, so feel free to check that out and ping me if you have any questions on that. Next on my screen, the next person is Carson. So you're up.
Hey everybody, hopefully you can hear me. I'm from the Tableland team, obviously, And many of you have probably seen me in the forums and things like that. I do everything from working on our SDKs to protocol design to partnerships and biz dev and a little bit of operations and things. So I'm jumping in and out of everywhere. I have a pretty good handle over things in general. You might call me a jack of all trades and master of none. So if you need a high-level overview of just about anything, you can hit me up, and I'm happy to help. Next up is Alan.
Hey folks, hi, I'm Alan. I'm a full-stack developer on the Tableland team. I help work on the SDK stuff, some of the example apps. We've got one thing that I've started working on, we haven't announced yet, so I won't say anything about that. But yeah, I'm also always glad to answer questions about kind of the SDK and example apps in Discord, so feel free to reach out. Next person on my screen is Aaron.
Hey, I'm Aaron Satula. I'm a developer on Tableland as well. I've recently been working a lot on the Rigs NFT, basically kind of wrangling all the data, generating the NFT metadata, and integrating that all with Tableland. Been doing this all in Golang and the new version v2 of the Tableland Validator, and it's been a real pleasure to and very exciting to like build a real project, an NFT project on Tableland. I'm really happy with the way it's working, and since I'm doing that all in Golang, it will also have some pretty good news for anybody interested in writing Go code that to Tableland. So I think Marla's next.
Hey, Marla Natoli here. So I'm heading up partnerships for Tableland. So that's a lot of different things, but really just looking across all pillars of the organization and how we can work with others to support each other, really. And that goes from everything from, being mindful of some of our values, like our carbon footprints, to getting people building on Tableland, and making sure that both projects are sort of a success. So really excited about learning what the community is building and how we can work together and support you. And I think Brian is next. Don't know if you've gone, Brian.
Yeah, I think we have a few other people too, but I'll go and then pass it off. What's up, y'all? I am a community steward for Tableland. You probably see some of the announcements that I write up each week, and generally here to support the kind of communications throughout the ecosystem and event production. And we have some really awesome new initiatives that I'll be supporting in one way or the other. And I really come to this space with a lot of passion and belief that what we're doing can enable a really meaningful transition towards a world that works. I think this infrastructure for Web3 and crypto and beyond can just create a lot of exciting innovation, and it's like an honor to be up here with everyone that's working on this project. So really happy to be here with you all and excited for what's emerging. And I think I'll pass to 80, who I don't think has spoken yet.
Hello. So my name is Aaron Steele, but Aaron Satula and I have a first name collision. So I am known as 80 in Tableland, and yeah, super excited to be working in Tableland. My background is actually computer science and engineering stuff, but on Tableland I've been really focused more on the organizational and operational side of things. And what I get really excited about thinking and building kind of like building blocks for Web3 org design. We're working on something internally for all of our planning and our execution and how we evolve season over season called OS. And we're working hard to kind of start opening that up to the community through documentation and other things. So from there, I think I'll pass it off to Sander.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Sander and co-founder of Textile with Andrew, and I'm sitting here trying to think of what I do. I feel like just kind of bounce around all over the place. But this year on Tableland, been doing a lot of earlier in the year protocol mechanics thinking. We ended up putting a huge amount of effort into this rigs thing, which has taken a lot of time. And I generally do, like a lot of product thinking, and just wearing a lot of hats.
Super. Thanks, everybody. Really awesome crew to work with. I'm like really honored to work with all of you every day and really enjoy it. But one thing that I really recognize with all of you trying to share in 30 seconds or less is how much you don't share. Like, it's such a diverse set of interests and passions in this team. And so all of you in the community, hopefully you get to interact with all these people and learn a bit more. And we've tried to set up Discord a little bit so we could share some of that out in the out in meet space, for example. I think our team is very active out in the world, rock climbing, biking, getting out there. And so we do a lot of stuff in the sending channel and elsewhere, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg. This team's amazing. So with that, I thought let's jump into the season. So I have in the agenda kind of the major areas that we delivered in season 3, and all of them open up new opportunities for community to get involved with the Tableland project and protocol. And so we're gonna do a smaller round robin here of people that are gonna speak to each of these major updates. So the first area we want to talk about, if you're not familiar with the way that Tableland is being designed, it's being designed as a network of validators that will run the protocol, secure the protocol, and keep your data operational in the relational database. And so that network of validators requires a piece of infrastructure. We just generally call it the validator. And we are getting very close to onboarding external validators to run Tableland. And so to come speak to some of those updates is Ignacio.
Hey, yeah, sure. So as many of you have used the current testnet environment, in that environment we have a single validator which is receiving all the queries for your tables and make them real in a real table that you can later query. So in the last season we did a lot of work in changing the design of the network and using any EVM chain for the consensus and data availability of the queries. And the validator is more like an actor in the network that listens to these events that happen on chain and materializes the table. So as a general description of the architecture / design, you have the registry smart contract where you mint your table and send the right queries for your table. A big chunk of the ACL will be enforced by the smart contract. And if everything is fine, an event will be emitted in the contract that all the validators are listening to, and they will execute the query. Okay, so that's kind of the high level idea. So in the last season, we did a lot of work to really implementing the smart contract and the validator under this new architecture, and that's currently working. And we are about to open like these new test nets for everybody to use. Maybe I can talk longer, like why this is a better design than the previous one, but that might be a bit lengthy. So another interesting thing that we also did in the last season was making the Validator Multi-Chain. So every validator in the network is actually listening to events in multiple chains, so you can use Tableland in more than one EVM, and we have a single set of validators in the network, which is pretty interesting because that allows you to make read queries that joins tables from different chains, which can unlock really interesting use cases. And lastly, we also, for the testnet environments, created a feature in the validator, or as we call it usually, the gateway, for allowing you to, as a user, avoid sending the right queries, doing the smart contract calls to send the right queries yourself, and you can rely on the validator to create a transaction for you. So if you want to build fast, the only thing that you will have to do is mint the table, and then you can simply rely on the validator for the right queries, as you actually do in the current testnet, and the validator will send the transactions for you. We thought that was a really nice feature to simplify and avoid some friction while you are trying to build some stuff in the testnets. So yeah, I think that's a pretty fair summary. Some other things happen too. We are planning, as Andrew said, that to open like the validator set to some other partners in the short term, and we also are going to share a form link where if you are interested in running a validator, we want to hear from you, and we are also building some really nice and clear documentation on how to do that. So the plan is that it will be pretty cheap and easy to run one. So to talk about a bit more on what will happen in this season. In the last season, we also wrote a document for a new SQL spec for Tableland. The current the current testnet doesn't really have a well-defined spec for the SQL queries, so we put some really good thought about making that clear, so people can really rely on long-term support on their applications that are being built in Tableland. So this new SQL spec is pretty similar to how you would use SQL in SQLite. SQLite, if you don't know, is a really well-known database that exists for it is really used for embedded use cases, and it's pretty neat. But our spec is not really an exact match. It has a big overlap, but it also has like some other statements that make sense for Tableland and for like this Web3 composability and interaction. So what we have to do this season is we have to build our own parser to really comply to our SQL spec, because existing parsers are really for different languages, so they don't really quite fit into what we need. But the thing that I think is most exciting about having our own parser is how much we can build on top of it in the future. Defining your own language and having your own parser allows us to invent new SQL statements for new features in the future. So for example, we could, like in SQL, you have insert, update, and delete. And if we think it's a good idea for Tableland to invent some new query that's, I know, freeze rows that satisfy some condition, maybe we can create a feature that freezes some rows in a table until the owner decides to unfreeze them, so nobody can change them. So this is like just an example of the kind of things that having our own parser will allow us to do. Another interesting thing is that we can create like new functions that can be used in SQL statements, like functions like the ones that you may already know is get the current date, but we can create completely arbitrary ones that can be run in the validator, because we can understand the query in any way that we want, and we can, for example, calculate the CID of some blob data as part of the SQL query, which is pretty nice. So we don't really have to rely on the underlying database engine to really resolve that function. So these are maybe more advanced features. And the other big thing is that we are moving from using Postgres as the database engine to SQLite. This will simplify a lot the operations of the validator, because now you don't really need to run a separate process with the Postgres database, which is pretty nice, and also is much more efficient because SQLite is an embedded database, so it runs in the same process as the validator. Another really cool thing about SQLite is that it is browser friendly, so you can actually run an SQLite database in the browser, and that might have really interesting use cases in which you can maybe work on your table data in the browser and later maybe sync up changes to the network. We have to think about that, but I think that's a really interesting thing. Also, the SQLite ecosystem is pretty broad, and there are a lot of tools that we can leverage to make the user experience much nicer. And yeah, I think that's a pretty fair summary of our plans for this season.
Awesome. Yeah, such a killer update. So many things done in that work stream. So just a few shout outs to the general channel. If any of you have run infrastructure before or are interested in helping test out Tableland and run the network, there's a link for the interest form to run Validators. This will be really early. There's obviously not a Tableland token yet, so it won't be an incentivized network to start. But we do want to work with a bunch of external organizations and really race to that moment. So if that's you, sign up. The SQL spec is already in our docs. Some of the pieces that Ignacio mentioned still need to make it to the docs, but I think it's an awesome segue to the next section, which is the state of smart contracts. So if you've been using Tableland from the MVP, there weren't many things you could do from right on the chain, and that's all changed. And so Sander is going to jump up and tell you all the updates there.
Yeah, awesome. I did want to just add one thing to the validator, which is that the Validator Updates, which is that they are light to run, so you can just use commodity hardware. I've seen that question asked a few times in other places, so yeah, nothing crazy. You don't need GPUs or anything like that. So yeah, back to the smart contracts. So as Andrew mentioned, in the MVP, the smart contract was super minimal. You could essentially just register a table there, and the design of it was based on an ERC 721 contract, and what we were really doing there was just tracking ownership of a table. So only the owner could write to that table, and that was enforced actually on the contract and also in the validator, if I remember correctly. So what we've done this season is really focused on the concept of shared tables and more advanced access control. So we have now this interface that we call the Tableland controller for the Solidity folks out there. The idea is that a table can have an owner, and it can also have rules about how other folks, actually including the owner, can touch that table. So here we can achieve row level and column level access control. So what I mean by that is you can create whatever logic you can think of at the execution layer. So you can do something like only people that own a rig, for example, can write to this table, or it doesn't have to be token related either. It could be sort of any logic that you can imagine. And we're really excited about that. It opens up a lot of doors to just the types of things that you can build on Tableland. and was actually one of the main drivers that we went with this protocol design in the first place. So looking forward this season, we really want to drive home this concept of what we mean by these controller contracts, and we're going to be developing a bunch of different playbooks and examples of things that you should easily be able to copy and paste from and build off of. So I just wanted to step back real quick and just build on what Andrew and Ignacio had mentioned about sort of how the network works. So I think this will kind of drive home the access control point even further. So Tableland, it's really, you can think of it as a cloud-based database, SQL database, where the cloud is a combination of a public blockchain and our validators. So when you write, it really should feel very much like you're writing to, say, some hosted SQL service. And the rules about whether you can write or not, those are controlled at the blockchain level with these contracts. So that's why we say that Tableland is a composable data layer that's powered by smart contracts. So let's see, anything else here? Yeah, and we had a note here just to talk about what do we mean when we say that Tableland, the things that you write are on-chain, and this again touches on the topology of the network, or the design of the network, how we leverage EVM events to materialize tables. So unpacking all that word salad, what that means is when you write to Tableland, you are actually putting data on the chain, and it's in the form of your SQL statements. So if the validators all exploded and went away, someone could come along, 10 years from now and run that sequence of events from the registry contract and rebuild up your table. So it's this really nice combination of off-chain read and on-chain write, and we're leveraging a cheaper storage layer of the EVM. So EVM events are cheaper to store than if you were just to put something in a contract. And this is really cool for NFTs because you get this nice hybrid of on-chain metadata that's composable, that's readable off-chain, and combine that with the access control stuff, and you get some really cool experiences. And we'll talk about that a bit down in when we get to the rigs. So yeah, I think that's good for that section.
Yeah, super. I'm just gonna ride on the coattails of those two, because I had almost zero contribution to this update, but I just took it in the agenda that the different networks that we're now supporting. And so I think both Ignacio and Sander kind of tiptoed around exactly where we are now with these things, but we're really far. So right now, today, you can use those smart contracts and the validator work on Ethereum Goerli, Polygon Mumbai, and Optimism Coven. So all the test nets, or three of the main test nets, one each. And yeah, those are fully live and active. We've pushed new client libraries that make that easy, and there'll be a couple updates about usability there in the next section, but we're super excited because it's like now ready to start building. You can get access to that in our docs. I think the networks pages haven't quite landed. We'll talk about that in a second too, but it's there. If you're itching to write code today, just ping us. I think it's actually probably in some doc strings in the client library too, is my guess. But yeah, we can talk to you about it on Discord before we even land the doc pages, but they're coming really quick. And then all of those are obviously just staging up to get this stuff released on mainnet. So we're looking at Ethereum, Polygon, and Optimism mainnets in 6 to 8 weeks. And we're already looking at a couple other L2s that wouldn't be very far behind that. So yeah, it's getting very, very real, the whole network, and very usable. So excited to have you try that. And I think we're also going to be exploring just some simple documentation about how to like get started on the test nets and migrate to those to the main nets and things like that. So if you're new to all that, hopefully we can fill you in. But so yeah, the networks are coming. That's the main conclusion there. And with that, I'll move this over to Dan with developer experience.
Awesome. So we're going to walk through a few things regarding developer experience. So what's new, how to access these new things, and what is coming. So Andrew alluded to some of our documentation updates. So we've actually migrated our documentation over from Gitbook to a new tool that's all based on Notion. So everything we do actually as a company is based in Notion. So that was sort of the rationale for moving over to this Notion-based documentation. But through that process, some of our docs are a little outdated. So we are currently walking through updating those. So that's sort of what Andrew also was mentioning. Some things are referencing maybe some outdated information. Those changes will be coming very shortly. So besides that, I just wanted to mention some of the other tools that we have built. Jetty, for example, you can find that over on our GitHub, but this is specifically a library for interacting with IPFS and Tableland. So if you use our SDK, it's actually just a zero config library built on top of that SDK. So it's pretty easy to actually implement within your project, and it allows that seamless integration for, let's say, metadata or files that you're uploading to IPFS to easily be inserted into tables themselves. So check out that library called Jetty on our Tableland network GitHub. And another big update is actually just around some of the test nets that we've gone live with. So what's coming is no more whitelisting at all. If you've seen the dev whitelisting channel, we're going to phase that out over time. And basically, you can actually access our new contracts today. If you are using our JS SDK, you'll just have to install the newest SDK using the next tag on npm, so we can share what that command looks like. But basically, if you point to our new testnet, which is testnet v2.tableland.gateway, you can actually access these new contracts. And just note that we're doing this this sort of phase out of the dev whitelisting over time, because we want to make sure people have a chance to move to our new contracts in case you have been using Tableland in the past. So we'll also have some docs around what that transition process looks like, timing-wise, as well as just how to do it in general. So again, just summarizing there, new docs, work in progress. Let us know if you run into any issues. Just DM me, I'm DTB on Discord. You can access the docs themselves at docs.tableland.xyz and check out anything new that we've released around smart contracts, SDKs on our GitHub. Tableland Network is the GitHub handle. As far as what's coming, we have some. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Okay. So last point, just on what's coming. So we have some new example apps. We recently deployed a Twitter clone called Gila, which is basically a user-owned Twitter alternative. So you can check that out. Post on GitHub as well as in our docs. And then we're in the process of building basically like a peer-to-peer chess game where user moves are written to a table, and at the end of the game, this table is basically like a shared ownership of an NFT, which like the table itself is the NFT. So there's some interesting things you can even build off of that. And then within the next couple of months, we're also going to release a wallet-based messaging app. So think of it as like a way to communicate with other wallet addresses. You can see who sent you messages, see what messages you sent, and even extend this with examples like limiting who can send you messages, such as like this person has to own an NFT or do this sort of logic. So if you have any other ideas on new example apps, just post them over in dev chat, post them in general during this call. That's totally fine as well. I also want to touch on workshops. So just because of a lot of the season planning that we've done, we've put off the workshops over the past few weeks, but those will be starting up here shortly after NFT NYC, which we'll be at next week. Just another related project that we're working on, sort of tied to the example apps, but is a Tableland UI. So it's a way to interact with Tableland only within a user interface. So there's a lot that we're going to be designing there, but the idea is you can log in, see tables, and interact with them just within that UI. So if you have any ideas, feel free to jump into dev chat and let us know what you think, things you're looking for, etc. And then lastly, before I pass the ball to Marla and also maybe let Andrew speak there, but we do have some season 4 events coming up. We have, again, these new workshops. We actually have Twitter Space upcoming tomorrow with Oddfellows, who help design really everything behind Rig. So be sure to check that out. We'll be at NFT NYC next week. And then we're also supporting builders for HackFS throughout July, in addition to our pilot program, which we're going to dive into here in a minute. So Andrew, I think you had something to mention there.
No, that's it. I didn't mean to step on your toes. Sorry about that. Ton of awesome updates. Yeah. If you're looking for our workshop series or interview series or previous town halls, they're all on YouTube. There's a collection of each there for you to catch up on the old stuff. Yeah, so with that, next up is Marla to talk about some really cool new project that we're launching.
Awesome, thanks. So we're super excited. As Dan mentioned, we're launching a pilot program. So you can think of it as an accelerator of sorts. And basically, we've just been hearing so many awesome sort of use cases, ideas, ways to use Tableland within existing projects. And we really wanted to support teams in bringing that to life. So the program is designed to bring teams together, and we'll be offering support in using Tableland to allow you to sort of bring your vision to life. And we'll be giving a grant in support. So the grant is set at $5K. There will be some opportunities along the way for sort of some added benefits. There'll be some fun integrations with rigs, which Sandra is doing a little update on in a minute here. And then there's also going to be lots of opportunity to sort of showcase work within the community, learn from each other. We're really excited. The launch is coming early to mid-May. We do have a little more information, so I'll share a link for you guys to take a look because applications are open. And we're launching and kicking off with a couple partners of ours that have been really good allies up to this point and are working on really cool stuff. So we're super excited about that. We have Surreal, which I believe we have someone on the call actually from Surreal here. They're experts in the metaverse space. They build these really awesome, they have this like photorealistic sort of rendering to their metaverse experiences. It feels really real. So super slick graphics. And they've been doing some experimentation around, how to assert ownership of your digital identities through avatars as NFTs. And have been exploring Tableland already to bring dynamic traits to those avatar NFT. How can dynamic traits and wearables start to influence the experience of a user in a metaverse? So they have some really sort of cool concepts that they're already toying with, but a vision for some awesome extensions and new ideas that through the pilot program we'll be supporting to see what we can bring to life there. So really excited to have Surreal on board and join the program. And we also have DAP House. So DAP House create custom solutions for lots of different Web3 ecosystems. They recently launched a line of NFTs in Decentraland for Death Squad records, which is pretty cool. And they're developing against concept that will launch in Decentraland, but could have potential to extend to other metaverses. So their sort of vision is to use Tableland for a decentralized solution to manage some of the dynamic elements of the in-game play, as well as the leaderboard updates and that sort of thing. And really long-term to help solve the issue of composability between sort of metaverse experiences. And so They'll also be participating in the pilot program, and we're really stoked to sort of kick off discovery and test some concepts with them. So yeah, we'll drop the link to apply, but certainly if you guys are developers, teams, early stage orgs, you have some thoughts or ideas on how you think you could bring that to life with Tableland, we'd really love to support you on that. So we encourage you to reach out and apply.
Super. I think with that, I dropped some links in the general channel, both to Surreal and Dap House, just their websites, and one project link for you all to check out. And also the link to the pilot program page where you can find the simple form to just log your interest, and we'd love to be in touch. So definitely do that down in general. So next up, and I think this is what a lot of people are here for, so saving it for last, is an update on rigs, and so that's going back to Sander.
Super cool stuff, Marla, and this is all that is a great segue into rigs. So I just wanted to address, why on earth is an infrastructure project doing an NFT? And it's something that we haven't seen before. Is it, is this a funding thing for them? And so I just wanted to upfront just address a few of those points because it's really important. And to the latter, this is not a funding moment for us. We are doing these at a cheap mint price. So these are really just something that we want to get out the door. And just originally when we started thinking about doing an NFT, the main idea was, hey, let's do an NFT to demo what Tableland can do. And we started thinking and going down that path more and more, and we realized that a lot of the product ideas that we were thinking about with Tableland, so tracking community engagement, creating a tight-knit community of people aligned around a vision, all those things are we wanted to make something that you could build something like that on. So it's just obvious, well, let's just build one for Tableland itself using Tableland itself, and that's what rigs has become. And also just Tableland itself has so much cool visuals and fun lore things to play with. We spent a lot of time developing the narrative and the story around that, and playing into the ideas of Web3 in general, sort of this Wild West vibe that you see really baked into the art. And this idea of using tools from before with SQL and pulling that out in the visuals as this kind of retro future vibe is something that we got really excited about, and I think it really shows in the work that Oddfellows has done. And yeah, I would encourage anyone, definitely keep up to date on the Oddfellows Twitter space. They are an awesome crew. They went absolutely wild with this project. It's the first NFT related thing they've done, and they just love working on it. I think there was 5 or 6 artists that worked on it, and they just kept adding things, and at some point we had to just ask them to stop making too much cool stuff, because we have to build this thing as well. So yeah, let's get to the details of the mint and everything. So we're looking at minting in a few weeks. We have no date on the calendar yet. We have some pending things going on with our org and everything that we need to figure out before we get those out the door. The allow lists are open, so today we're actually going to announce the Wanderer list. So this is a Discord role called Wanderer. If you own that role, and anyone in our Discord does, you can sign up for that raffle. And we have some other allow lists with our partners. So if you happen to be in, Developer DAO is one. We can enumerate the others in Discord. for folks to check out. Actually, we're just going to announce those in those respective communities, so that's probably the easiest way to find out about them. Let's see. So yeah, back to the point about making something with Tableland that can track contributions from the community and everything. This is what we are doing with rigs at the end of the season 4. So after launch, after we do the mint, we will then start rolling out this badging concept, and you can read about that on the Tableland.xyz/rigs page. So these badges were designed again by Oddfellows. The idea is that we want to reward folks that help us in the network. So we have badges for teaching, we have badges for contributing code. There's a total of 6 of them right now. There's one for if you are a validator, if you build a really cool app on Tableland. And the thing with these badges is that they are pulled from a separate metadata table than the rigs metadata table. And this is really just to show the power of kind of what we have been tongue-in-cheek calling relational NFTs. So you can build these complex experiences that pull data from multiple sources and actually show them on the rig themselves. So when you look at the rig on OpenSea, once we roll out badges, you'll see your badges on there. And if you transfer the rig, the badge will go with it. So this is this concept that the part of the experience is this idea of being able to fingerprint the rig. So you can, based on your actions in real life, you can apply, or you can sort of alter the state of your rig forever, and you can transfer it. And we have some other cool ideas coming out later this year that we'll explore around that, sort of mashing other NFTs with your rigs. And let's see, yeah, so with the pilot program teams, we have badges for those folks, and we'll actually be giving out rigs to those teams as well. And yeah, that'll include this concept of rig voting. Maybe Andrew, you want to touch on that? I think you're more familiar with that. And then lastly, maybe most importantly, we will be starting to gate our Discord with the rigs. So most of the active channels will be rig NFT gated. And that's really just to create this kind of high touch experience that we've seen done really well in other communities with NFTs.
So cool. So yeah, just there's a little bit about the rig voting. We want rig owners to be, engaged in in the community and helping us kind of identify and reward really good projects early on, especially during this period where we race to mainnet with the Tableland token. So the the rigs we're imagining actually will help us reward great projects. And one of the places we want to start there is in the pilot program. So we're going to have a couple of different moments during the pilot program where rig owners will be able to vote on most promising project or most exciting outcome or most interesting outcome or different topic areas, and we'll actually just reward them with a little bounty. And so that's one area, and the other area is there's a few other areas, but another one related to today's conversation is with validators. So everyone who's a validator in the early network will be a rig owner as well, and we want to actually track metrics and their contributions to securing the network right on their rig. And so we've kind of generally called these things rig races, where we'd actually be able to see the performance of validators and track the performance of them attached to their rig, and then potentially reward them as well based on if they're doing an amazing job in the early network. So lots of really cool things where there's sort of a feedback loop of both owning the rig and being able to accumulate experience on it, but also being able to use the rig to contribute back and identify great projects. And it'll start in the pilot program, but expand out from there, I'm sure. Just lots of fun stuff.
Yeah, I just wanted to add too, I always get this question from collector NFT types, what is from a collector perspective, what is the value of a rig? And I just think they're incredibly cool. I'm a bit of a NFT nerd, and if you dig into the way we design the traits, go check out this concept of originals that we have. There's a lot of fun Easter eggs in these things, and the art honestly is amazing. I think it's one of the best produced NFTs I've ever seen, and obviously I'm biased, but again, I never tell people you should buy these because you should buy it and hold it and add to your collection. It's I think that the idea with these things is that it's something different, and we're trying to build something kind of real with the NFT experience. So yeah, I always kind of deflect that question. It's not really what we're trying to do, but they are also super rad. So it's a mixed messaging for you there.
I mean, if
Obviously
you don't collect them, I
investment.
will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, with that, I think those are all our updates. I mean, we tried to keep it to the top level stuff because, as you can see, we had a lot to pack in today. I'm happy to stick around a bit. If people have some questions, go ahead and raise your hand. We can get those up on stage, or I've been dropping links and notes down in general, so feel free to just chat down there if you don't want to do it in voice. I don't see any requests now, so we got one. All right, bringing you up.
Hey, no worries. Hey, it's great to meet you guys. I guess I was talking to DTB and DMs, but I'd be honestly super interested to better understand the roadmap for when the validator is validator going to be open sourced, I guess, is kind of my question there. And then is there gonna be an engineering blog or something that we can follow to track updates? Just pretty basic question there.
That's a great question. Yeah, so we don't currently have it open source now, but we will be doing that this season. Actually, in the next month, I'd imagine. As far as the engineering blog, that's a great idea. I think we do have our blog. I think that we should poke some people on the team to write more technical stuff, I guess, including myself. So yeah, that's a great nudge.
Yeah, it's more so out of curiosity because you guys are building an entire validator protocol network from scratch, and I just think no one really does a good job of explaining how these things are built. And so I don't know, just as I get more, I just out of curiosity, really.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome question. Awesome idea. Definitely we need to get more out there, but it will all be open source for sure. Any other questions out there?
I have a question, which is just to the team. Is there anything y'all are needing or looking for, or what are some opportunities to just surface in our wider community, if any?
I think the big two were definitely called out, which are, people that have experience running network nodes. We'd love to talk to you about running a validator early on the network. And then if you're a builder, if you're a small org or a team getting started with Tableland, or even if you're a really ambitious lone developer, we'd love to talk to you about the pilot program and see if that's the right fit to help you kind of move quickly through your idea and get you some technical help. And those are the two big ones on my mind, so I feel good about that. I don't know if other people on the team have some other thoughts.
Yeah, nothing really to add. I would just second that. And if anybody
has some ideas that they don't want to share outright in public, but want to get some quick feedback, you can ping any one of us, and we're happy to do some validation there. So feel free to reach out anytime. We're here, and we just want to support folks building cool stuff.
I think that's a great note to leave it on. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to support great folks building great stuff, cool stuff. We're always here on Discord. Let us know your ideas. Let us know what you're building on. We're moving really fast, and we want to bring you with us and see what we can all do together. So until next town hall, I guess we'll take it back to chat. Bye, everybody.